Hey, what's up, bro? Hope you're doing good today. So listen, we've got to talk about this new Madden 26 update that just dropped on October 22nd, because this one is actually kind of wild. EA finally went in and made some changes that might shake up how people play defense, special teams, and even how those scrambles and catches feel in real time. I've been running a bunch of test games since the patch went live, and man, you can feel the difference on the field, especially if you play competitive or you run any kind of simulated pressure scheme on defense. This is one of those updates that doesn't just tweak a few things. It changes how you have to think about matchups, play calling, and even your special team strategy. All right, let's talk about what actually changed because there's a lot to unpack here. The big headline this time is all about defense, especially how the pass rush and zone assignments work. If you've been getting frustrated with your defensive players dropping to weird depths in zones or just straight up ignoring their assignment, you're not alone. EA apparently heard the noise and fixed a bunch of bugs that were messing with nickel and dime formations, specifically those new single mug and double mug looks. If you're not super familiar with what that means, these are those defensive sets where it looks like the linebackers or safeties are mugging the A gaps, kind of faking pressure, but you might only rush four. The idea is to confuse the offensive line into sliding protection the wrong way, then send pressure from unexpected spots. The problem was, before this patch, some of those zones were completely busted. Players weren't dropping to the right spot, or they were reacting way too slow. Now, post-patch, everything feels much tighter. Hook zones actually read crossers more consistently, curl flats are triggering faster on outs and swings, and your pass rush doesn't just stand there like it's waiting for an Uber anymore. And speaking of pass rush, this is where things get really interesting. EA tweaked the entire pass rush move logic so that you're not seeing the same bull rush animation over and over again. Defensive linemen now mix up their moves based on their ratings and situation. So if you've got a guy with high finesse and good agility, he's actually going to use finesse moves more instead of spamming power rushes like before. But the best part, any rusher can now trigger a super win, not just the elite edge guys. That means if you're bringing a safety or a linebacker from a disguised look and the matchup is in your favor, you can actually win fast and collapse the pocket before the QB even hits his third step. It's not overpowered or anything, but it finally feels fair. You can really build creative blitz looks again without feeling like it's wasted effort. Now, I've got to mention this part because it's something people have been asking for years. They fixed contain logic. You know how half the time your QB contain player would just sit there frozen while the quarterback rolled right by him like he wasn't even there? That's gone. Contains are much snappier now, and they actually react to rollout angles. If you're facing a scrambling quarterback like Lamar, Fields, or even Mahomes, you can trust your edges a little more instead of having to manually babysit them every play. Combine that with the new super win system, and you're going to see a lot more defensive fronts getting home without needing to send 6 or 7 guys. All right, now let's switch over to catching and movement because there's a noticeable difference here too. EA tuned how receivers interact with the ball in midair, and it's honestly cleaner than it's been in months. There's less of that weird hand warping where the receiver's fingers would magnetically grab the ball from 3 feet away. Catch animations look smoother and more connected to the player's body now. But if you play on competitive mode, there's a twist. Defenders now have a higher chance to trigger knockouts. So if you're used to spamming aggressive catches in tight coverage, you might be in for a rude awakening. You've got to be more strategic about when you throw high points and when you take the check down because KOs are hitting harder. That's actually a good thing for game balance, though. It forces you to make smarter reads instead of just throwing up prayers and hoping your X factor bails you out. They also touched up scrambling animations, which is something I noticed right away. When you roll out with elite quarterbacks, guys like Allen or Lamar, you'll see the transition from pocket movement to scramble looks way smoother. It's less robotic. You can pull the ball down and accelerate without that awkward delay where it used to feel like your QB was stuck in the mud. The movement tuning also affects running backs. Taller backs, especially guys over 6 feet, don't get those ridiculous spin animations anymore, where they'd whip around like a ballerina. The spins are more grounded and realistic, which actually makes break tackles look way more satisfying. It's subtle, but when you play a few games, it just feels better overall. Now let's talk about something that nobody expected. Special teams. EA actually made a change that lets you hit 70-yard field goals in-game if your kicker has 99 kick power and you hit a perfect low trajectory kick. That's insane. It's not easy to pull off, but it's totally possible now. They said this was a nod to Cam Little's preseason bomb, and honestly, it's kind of cool they acknowledge that. It also means the kicking meta just shifted. You're going to see people actually thinking about field position more, maybe taking those 60-plus yard attempts if they've got the right kicker. On top of that, they patched a few kickblock X-block exploits, which should make special teams a little more fair again. But let's get back to the part everyone's going to care about, the new defensive formations and plays. This update dropped a ton of fresh content into the playbooks. You've now got access to 3-3-5 penny 3 high, dime single mug, and dime 2-3 single mug, plus some brand new plays like Blitz Loop 3, Nickel Sim 2, Field Sim 3, Cover 2 Roll, Show SS Sim 2, and Cross Sim 2. These are all designed to give you that simulated pressure look, meaning you can show a 6-man blitz pre-snap but only rush 4 while still getting instant heat if the offense slides wrong. It's all about disguise and forcing mistakes. I've been testing some of these in practice mode, and they're filthy when you mix them right. If you alternate between Sim 2 and Cover 2 Roll, you can bait quarterbacks into throwing right into zones that rotate post-snap. It's going to make a lot of casual players frustrated, but if you know your football concepts, this is your time to shine. And that's not even all. EA also updated a bunch of team playbooks. Teams like the Bengals, Cardinals, Colts, and Steelers all got the new single mug and 3-3 packages, which fits their real-life defensive personnel. The Raiders picked up nickel over, which is a big deal because that formation can stop both run-heavy and spread offenses if you use it right. They also took out some older, outdated formations like the old nickel 2-4 looks, so things feel more streamlined now. If you're the type who likes to build custom playbooks, this update is basically a playground. You've got way more modern looks to build around. There's also a bit of attention on offense too, especially for people who love bunch and bunch TE setups. Benkert's Dimes book got a massive upgrade with a bunch of new bunch TE and bunch X nasty plays. These new concepts give you more options for spacing and quick reads, and they feel like they were designed specifically to counter the new pressure looks on defense. So if you're running offense in franchise or H2H, it's going to feel fresh again. You'll need to rethink your protection calls though. Since the defensive fronts disguise pressure so well now, sliding the wrong direction could end your play instantly. It's actually pretty satisfying to see EA finally leaning into chess match football again, instead of just animation luck. Now, presentation-wise, this patch added some cool stuff too. Rivalries finally got new pregame sequences, which make matchups feel a little more alive. You'll notice new camera cuts and commentary lines that react to division matchups or playoff implications. And for all the Patriots fans out there, Pat Patriot is officially in the game now. That brings the total mascot count to 8, which is kind of fun for casual play. EA also cleaned up some art assets, new cleats, face masks, and even UI fixes for the Switch version. Little things, but it adds polish where the game needed it. But let's be real, the most important takeaway from this update is how it's going to affect online play. If you're in franchise or H2H, defense finally feels relevant again. You can generate pressure without calling all-out blitzes every snap. Those simulated pressure looks with 4-man rushes are going to force people to adjust protection calls or keep tight ends in. That means fewer routes on the field, which means more control for you as the defender. And if you play with zone drops and make your reads properly, it's going to be so rewarding. I've already noticed people in MUT struggling because they're not used to disguises actually working. You show 6, drop 2, and the QB panics. It's beautiful. On the flip side, offense players are going to have to adapt. Quick reads, motion snaps, and slide protection adjustments are going to matter more than ever. You can't just sit back and shotgun and expect to have all day to throw. The days of waiting for a deep post to develop are over, unless you're blocking 7. And with that new KO tuning, even if you get the ball out, you've got to be smart about where you place it. Aggressive catches in traffic aren't the free wins they used to be. Timing and placement are everything now.